So taking a look at the anatomy of the Occupy Luthuli House protests, where it originates from, whether it is faceless people or disgruntled members. We joined in studio now by Colin Maine. He's the ANC Youth League president. Togo Xasa is the ANC Women's League national spokesperson. Professor Sipho Siepe is a political analyst, and you are our fourth panelist. At home, you're welcome to give us a ring on 011-542-2186, or you can tweet at ANN7TV. Thank you so much for your time. Professor Siepe, just from what we've seen, especially in the Sunday papers, and it's a pity that we didn't have Kukundima, who was invited but unfortunately was not able to attend, quoting that these are the ANC's children, children of the ANC who are now going out to protest. What the agenda is remains to be answered. What is your view?
Well, if you read the constitution of the ANC, it is very clear. It doesn't talk about the children of the ANC. It talks about people volunteering to be members of the ANC. So in other words, there's no political royalism. There's no dynasty that is defined within the ANC. So if you join the ANC, you join it because you believe in it. And you've also had members, children of members of the ANC who have joined other political parties, which is actually fine. So let us say dismiss that. There isn't any claim to royalty. There is no claim to any dynasty. But what is happening here is that you have a particular faction that is represented by people who seem to me that they've not managed to win the real battle, the battle of ideas within the branches. If you read all the documents of the ANC, they're very clear about the branch being the basic unit and the basic structure that informs. So if you really want to have a change of the ANC in terms of leadership, in terms of policy, you have to do that political work. Political grandstanding is not sufficient. Actually, it's far inadequate, and it does not last. And if you were to look at the behavior of the ANC Youth League in the past, when they actually wanted to remove the former President Thabo Mbeki, what they did was to swell the ranks of the branches to make sure that they win that battle. And they make sure that that battle becomes almost what it became a tsunami. And once you do that, then you are able to dislodge the leadership, and you are able to also come up with new ideas. But the political grandstanding can take you so far and no further.
All right, let's invite Bonolo Ramokhele from hashtag Occupy Luthuli House. Thanks so much, Bonolo, for your time. So what is the agenda here? Because we see from the ANC Youth League, in fact, all the structures and sundry, they're not legitimizing the role of what you call the children of the ANC, and that your agenda is largely politicized as what it is in unifying or protecting the organization. What's your view?
Thank you for having us, even though I was not meant to be on this platform. Look, we are not a faction. These are genuine calls by ANC branches. To reduce this to members, we are actually insulting those branches that actually took resolutions and said that Jacob Zuma must resign, the entire NEC must resign. A special consultative conference must be called to take us, and it must be taken to a special consultative conference by a council or a task team of elders and stalwarts. And fourth, we need urgently free quality education being implemented immediately. So these are actually branches of the ANC. We have never said that we are children of the ANC. So we are children of the ANC. All of us are children of the ANC. You cannot now come and belittle that and say that just because it's not in the constitution, we're not children of the ANC. It's incorrect. And it's being very disingenuous. So we are all...
Bonolo, I'm merely quoting your party members, by the way, so these are not my words. You will know how the ANC Youth League and the Women's League feels about this. Bonolo, it's fine. It is not a dialogue or monologue in the sense that you only get to respond. We'll get Colin Maine to then give us in terms of the processes that needed to be followed and where you, sir, had transgressed as the Occupy Luthuli House organizers. So, Colin, to you.
No, thank you very much for having us. Firstly, let me indicate that members of the ANC would know that in terms of the constitution, you all belong to branches. You join the ANC at the branch. Now, if you have issues to raise, you then raise them in your branch general meetings. You don't grandstand and come to a regional office or a provincial office or including the Luthuli House to say that you are tired, there are these issues that you want to raise. Now, if branches of the ANC are to meet again in terms of process of the organization, they'll have to be convened by somebody. Let's say, for instance, there must be an RGC where the Regional Executive Committee will convene branches. So if Bonolo says to us that these are genuine calls from branches of the ANC, who convened these branches? Where did they meet? So that we are very clear. So in as far as we are concerned, there's never been a meeting of branches. And for us, we see this as a group of disgruntled people. These people who are calling themselves hashtag Occupy Luthuli House.
Okay, Bonolo will respond. Let's quickly take a caller. Figile, hello to you, and thanks for holding.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. What's your comment or question?
I just want to call the ANC to order. I've said this before on your channel, and I'll say it again. Go to introspection conference. You have serious issues whereby some people are not even protecting Zuma. They're protecting their bread and butter issues. Every time when you see them talk, they say Jacob Zuma. Even if Jacob Zuma is in China, they make mention of Jacob Zuma. They don't love the old man. They just use him to protect their political career. ANC must do an introspection. They must reduce the age gap between the youth and the current leadership. The reality is the politics are not longer growing old but growing young. Opposition parties have got young leaders. ANC needs to get young people to lead the organization. And please, to those who think they're in charge of the ANC, ANC was born 1912. It does not belong to individuals, but it belongs to the people. Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo are tweeting in their graves. They don't understand what's wrong with this factionalism, tribalism in the ANC. We want our ANC back. We want those who are disgruntled to also come back to the ANC and sit down with the current leadership and resolve this thing.
Thanks, your point taken. We're also joined by Kebi Mapatswe, the MK Veterans Association chairperson. Rema Patswe, thanks so much. The caller just saying that, and by your own admission as an organization, the ANC saying that there are grander problems that it's facing, factionalism, corruption, and all sorts of things. In fact, there were Sunday reports suggesting that those that participated in the Occupy Luthuli House protest would either lose their jobs or their tenders. It has become a politics of the stomach. How do you respond to this?
Well, thank you, ma'am, and the viewers. The MKMVA view is that there is a constitution of the African National Congress, and any member of the ANC who has got grievances, he knows that he must start at a branch level. But let me go to Ronald Lamola. Ronald Lamola contested the presidency of the ANC Youth League, and he did not make it. So he still wants to come back through unconstitutional method of going to Occupy Luthuli House. Now I was saying it is wrong, comrades, for you when you are defeated in the democratic processes of the ANC and wants to create halabaloo outside as if the ANC has got challenges. Yes, we have got our own challenges. We have resolved our challenges from 1969 up to now. We know how to resolve our problems. We can't stand and have 10 people going to march to Luthuli House. What brought us to Luthuli House today is because they said they were going to occupy Luthuli House. And that one we're not going to allow. That the day-to-day functioning of the ANC should be disrupted by a few people who are disgruntled, who are funded by the big white monopoly capital, and some amongst our leaders of the ANC who lost elections in Mangaung are part of the agenda of the regime change.
All right, Rema Patswe, let's give Bonolo, just before, I hope you're making notes, I just want to give Togo an opportunity here to respond. They say that the environment is conducive for all of this decay and cancer to manifest within the ANC. Some of the demands from the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House organizers is for the NEC and Jacob Zuma to fall. Is that something that that needs to be on the table as part of the reflection process of the ANC?
Thank you very much, Cindy. The African National Congress is different from the rest of the parties that you see in South Africa because its strength is on the branches. Everybody joins as a member, as was indicated earlier on, of his or her own accord, because he understands what the ANC stands for. So the African National Congress, therefore, after every event or incident or whatever time period, it gets to a situation where it assesses itself. There's no such thing like what the caller was saying as a conference of, what is this? Introspection conference. ANC every time, and every time we have elections, we go back and look into how we have performed, what were the issues, how do we deal with them. So even now, the NEC set, and that process transcends up to the branch level. So we are still to know who the hashtag Occupy Luthuli is, because the process now is getting back into branches. We are convening branch meetings in order to get back to those things that were raised, so that we are able to then move ahead to correct them.
All right.
So, yeah.
I beg to interrupt you. Bonolo, your response to the remarks and some comments made so far.
Yes, I think that I vehemently need to disagree with Kebi Mapazwe and express my gross disappointment in him as a leader. Because, you know, it's very disturbing when you've got an elder who incites violence and says that he's going to deal with young people if they come to Luthuli House. Luthuli House belongs to ANC members. We are all ANC members. We are all allowed to visit the ANC. And also the issue to say that people are disgruntled because they lost congresses and so forth is incorrect. I mean, today's intimidation by so-called MKVA, you know, there are people who are my age or even younger are being called MK veterans. It's an insult to people who actually did serve as MK. You know, we have got a situation whereby we're being intimidated by our own people, and we cannot practice our constitutional right to protest, to speak our mind freely, and to gather. So it is thoroughly disappointing that an elder will actually behave in such a manner.
And the matter about the branches, Colin from the ANC Youth League saying they're not aware of which branches you had consulted and therefore collated this memorandum of demands.
I understand why Mr. Maina would actually have such a challenge, because Mr. Maina is not known in branches. Mr. Maina is a figurehead that was parachuted onto the masses. Because as it stands, a branch is free to exercise whatever it wants to exercise. It's in the Constitution that as a branch...
So, Bonolo, you're saying that Colin Maina's role as president of the ANC Youth League is not legitimate?
You are allowed as a branch to articulate your positions and to articulate policies of the ANC. You're allowed to articulate what you as a branch are doing. And one of the things that my own branch resolved on was that the president must go. So you cannot say that we're ill-disciplined, because these are decisions that are taken by BGMs that are duly constituted. So they cannot come with such tendencies to try and intimidate
branches. Bonolo, what branch is it?
This is Albert Luthuli branch. All
right, let's take a caller. It's Tsepiso in Germiston. Hello. Hi, good, thanks.
Sharp, man. Actually, here, what I'm not getting the point is, I heard Colin Maine during the day, he was saying that those people that are protesting are just people. But I don't understand, because they said South Africa, there is freedom. Everybody we can group, and then you can go and march, and then to say we no longer need a president, because we're paying tax here. We see people, they're just wasting our money. And this is serious things, and it's affecting everyone. Doesn't mean that it's just a person, or it's just a person doesn't have the right to go there and protest.
All right, thanks so much.
I'm asking for you why he said it's just a person, they are not member of ANC.
All right, thanks so much. Colin, your response to just the comments or remarks so far.
No, thank you very much. Let's firstly accept that because we are a constitutional democracy, people are allowed to march. Now, the caller is right that we said that some of them are just ordinary people. So people were claiming to be members of the ANC. So that is the point that we're disputed, that it's not everybody who's a member of the ANC. Now, if an Albert Luthuli branch has met and arrived to a determination that President Zuma and the entire NEC must resign within their right as a branch general meeting, they would then know a channels that are used within the ANC to raise that issue. You don't grandstand and invite media and all, do what has happened today. You then take your view, take it to the regional structure, province and national, or right straight to Kwede Montage. So you don't need to do what people has done today.
Maybe this is what the caller earlier was saying, that it's very archaic, the processes, we need to move with the times. The new generation perhaps do not necessarily follow all these cumbersome processes and may have been frustrated all along.
No, unfortunately, when you join the ANC, firstly it's because you agree to his policies, you agree to his constitution. So in the constitution, as it stands, this is what must happen. So we cannot then do something outside the constitution of the African National Congress. And I don't really want to get to the issue of Colin Maine being parachuted, who's not known, and all of that. It's a point that we've made earlier on that there are people who are still suffering from outcomes of both.
But this is all happening in the ANC. From what I observe where I am, it sounds like you members in good standing and, part of the ANC and love the movement and want to restore it in one way or another. You can decide on the merits of which way is the best way. But if you amongst yourselves are arguing in terms of who represents the ANC adequately, what more the citizens of this country?
Now, that's what we want to say to citizens of the country, that the ANC has got structures. And these structures of the ANC has a responsibility first to engage with members of the ANC, but also engage with everybody in the country and those who may not be members of the ANC. Because you would see in terms of the number of votes we get, it's not the membership of the ANC. Our membership is around 800,000. So we get millions of votes. So people can engage with the African National Congress, but we are saying that proper channels of engagement should then be employed.
All right, let's get a reaction from Rema Patswe, just in terms of an exemplary leader. As Bonolo was saying, that they feared for their safety. There was level of intimidation leveled at them, and that this is not what is expected from leadership.
We're participating in this discussion is because we want to give political education to some of the callers. They are saying they went to their PGMs. After the PGMs, they jumped the regional structures and their provincial structures. They just came straight to Luthuli House. It shows that they don't understand the processes of the African National Congress. It is important that as a leader, we are now inducting them freely. That it's fine you went to your branch general meeting. The first thing that you are supposed to do is to take your resolutions to your region. And the region was supposed to take your resolutions to the province, and the province will bring them to the national office of the African National Congress. But there were no intimidation there. No one was intimidated there. We were on this side of the Luthuli House. They were on that other side of the street. So no one was intimidated. We even assisted them when they were panicking that they were going to be beaten up when the SG was receiving.
All right,
their memorandum.
I just want to get Professor Siepe's response. Sorry to interrupt you, but in what has been reported is that the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House and children of the ANC are vulnerable and therefore are now crying out to the leadership to intervene. Is this for you a camouflage of a more sinister agenda in terms of regime change?
No, I think we must accept that there'll be those who will call for regime change. The ANC is a party that is made of a number of tendencies. And during contests, those tendencies, some of them lose. And when they lose, some of them turn into factions. So there's nothing wrong in some people wanting to remove the president of the ANC. Even under Thabo Mbeki, you had people who wanted to remove him. If there are some people who were also unhappy with Oliver Tambo. So this notion of being disgruntled, it's a right that members can put. But what the ANC says that there is a way of doing it. And if they feel that the constitution of the ANC is old and archaic, it is also important that they begin to try to engage the other people around those issues. But what there's a need to be understood is that in as much as you have your own view, you must also understand that there are many other people who may hold a different view. And this group, hashtag Occupy Luthuli House, has also been shown that there are other people who hold a different view. And if you listen to the media, when the NAC of the ANC met, they were talking about an elephant in the room, which was Jacob Zuma. But the members of the NEC of the ANC held a different view. They never saw any elephant. So what we need to understand is that there are all these different perspectives that are contesting. And unfortunately, it is a challenge that the ANC was going to face in a democracy. That once you have a democracy and you no longer have a glue that puts you together, you are going to have these contradictions becoming so sharp that they might actually be not sustainable. So it's not an accident that you saw EFF being formed. It's not an accident that you saw COPE being formed. It's because there are serious contradictions that the ANC must try to manage. So the issue of the ANC must introspect. It's a good idea, but that's what it says it does all the time. I've not heard anything that is new that you do not find expressed in the documents of the ANC, like sense of incumbency, complacency, introspection. Those are some of the things that the party must always do. And of course, there's also issue of South Africa being youthful nation. So it must also pay attention to that element.
Yes. And Bonola, just very quickly, and you can respond to this, Colin, as well. There are reports that the EFF leader, Julius Malema, being proud and congratulating the Occupy Luthuli House organizers for being fearless. And furthermore, ANC Youth League accusing the organizers of Occupy Luthuli House of being funded by the EFF. And you can just clear the murky waters there. We'll start with you, Bonola. Who's behind all of this?
The people who are behind all of this are ordinary branch members who are converged from all across the country. I've never met Julius Malema in my entire life. I've never met Floyd Shivambu in my entire life. So this is all propaganda. And also, I'd like to just add that regime change means taking electoral mandate from one party and giving it to another. So you cannot now come and say that that is regime change when you say that a corrupt and a person who's got low morals stepping down and having leaders who are actually credible is regime change. It's impossible. And then the last issue is going to be the issue of the political education that Kevin Party is trying to give me, which is really unnecessary, is that branches go to BGMs, correct, tick. RGCs, yes, it was done. PGCs, yes, it was done. And then a statement was issued that the president must do the right thing in Gauteng. And then the NEC crushed that thing. And that is what we're talking about when we're saying that structures of the ANC have been hijacked by factionalists. That entire NEC is full of factionalists and singers and praise singers.
All right, Bonola, I'm really afraid we're out of time.
NHM.
Colin, just very briefly. I hate to interrupt you. We're seriously out of time. Just your response.
Well, to must say that the Youth League is convinced that the acts of this so-called Occupy Luthuli House, they are somehow funded by the long-standing enemy of the African National Congress, which is Monopoly Capital. They do not have the capacity to do what they've done today. So they must have been funded. So we are convinced that Monopoly Capital is behind
One could
this.
say that's a scapegoat. Who's White Monopoly or Monopoly Capital? Do we have a name? Do we have a face? Do we?
Do you know that we have always named Johan Rupert as one of the monopolists who has always been anti the ANC, who has been always anti-transformation. So as the African National Congress, we believe that those people are behind the funding. This is regime change. They have tried to do fees must fall. They are trying it now because they failed. And they are now trying to do these disgruntled members and some who are not members of the African National Congress.
We're going to have to leave it there. We're fresh out of time. Thanks indeed to our panelists and you at home for taking the trouble to call in. We'll continue the discussion. Time is the enemy when it comes to live TV. So we'll continue the discussion on @ANN7 TV. We're back after this.